are live. What is going on, y'all? This is Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video, and we've got the Windy City production, the man himself, Rishab, here joining us, and I'm joining him because we're both collabing because so many people requested this, and it's finally happening. So what's going on, Rishab?
Not much, man. I'm doing fine. How about you? Just chilling in quarantine, trying to get through this.
Crazy, right? Yeah, quarantine. We thought, it'd be a few weeks in March, and it's August, so that went great. So, so basically, guys, we know you guys have been asking for us to collab for a long time. So, we actually had talked about collabing before. I've reached out to him a few times, and obviously, we both put out so much content, we just couldn't figure out a schedule. So, finally, we're able to make it happen. Season's right around the corner, so we thought, why not? So, how it's basically going to go is we're going to answer a lot of the questions that we have gotten from you guys. So all the questions that you guys submitted to us, we'll try to answer them. Now, there were a lot, so we won't get to all of them, but we'll try to get to as many of them. So we'll pose the question, or I'll pose the question, and then I'll go ahead and give my answer, and then, Rishab, you can give your answer, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. So sounds good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, perfect. So the first question that literally everybody wants to know is, how did we become Bears fans, right? So I'll start, I guess. For me, it's a very boring story, man. I grew up in Chicago. Like, technically, I live in the suburbs. Maybe I'm not in, like, downtown city, but it's just the local team. I don't have my dad was a Bears fan. My great-grandfather was one. It's the local team. I always support my local teams. It's not just Bears. I support, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, etc. So for me, that's pretty much it. Been here pretty much all my life, and so that's how I became a Bears fan. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly the same for me. Like, my dad was a pretty big Bears fan, so I guess watching him watch Bears games, that kind of got me into it too. But, I support the Bulls, I support the Blackhawks, the White Sox, and so obviously I'm going to support the Bears too. And, if I can think of any one moment where I truly became a Bears fan, it's, 2006 when we had the Super Bowl run. I just saw, like, everybody around me kind of support this team, and kind of just the energy in Chicago was just so great. So I wanted to be a part of that kind of. So I was like, why not be a Bears fan? So ever since 2006 is pretty much the first moment where I truly remember, like, actually liking this team, watching every single game. And ever since then, it's just been being a diehard fan. So partly because I'm in Chicago, I'm obviously not in Chicago, but I'm also in the suburbs, just like you are. So supporting the local teams, but also 2006, man, that was a great-ass year.
Yeah. See, technically, people always complain, like, oh, you have to be in Chicago, and it's like, honestly, it's you'll be surprised, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there. I'm talking about sports YouTubers. I know that there's guys that are in different states and cities, and they, support different teams. So, I mean, the closest team to us is the Bears, and so it's like, at least I'm not in, Texas, and I'm supporting the Rams or something like that, So, so great. We're in common ground over there. The next question everybody wants to know is, who is our favorite Bears player of all time and our favorite Bears player currently? So I'll go ahead and start, and then you can go ahead. So my all-time favorite Bears player, it's tough. I mean, you could easily go with the legends like Walter Payton or like Urlacher and stuff like that, but for me, it's actually Matt Forte. I just loved watching him play. I think he was such an underrated running back. He never got the respect he deserved when he was in the league. And, like, if we had Matt Forte right now, I'm telling you, if he was in the league right now, it'd be perfect, because the NFL right now is perfect for Matt Forte. And as far as my current Bears player, I love Allen Robinson. I just think he's such an underrated receiver. So just a big fan. How about you?
That's cool, yeah. For my current favorite Bear, I'd have to go with probably Eddie Jackson. I've talked with Eddie Jackson before too. He's been pretty cool, like, with my channel, noticing my highlight videos. So for that, Eddie Jackson, because, he's also a pretty good player as well. Obviously, one of the biggest game changers on our entire team. Last year, obviously, he wasn't in his natural position, so we didn't see, like, the stats that we saw in 2018. But, if he can get back to that 2018 level, he's definitely going to be, like, a top player in the league. And, obviously, he's super nice too. So Eddie Jackson for right now, but all time I would probably have to go with Devin Hester, just because every time he got the ball, man, it was just so exciting. Like, you never knew what was going to happen. Like, he was probably going to return it, take it back all the way. And, eventually they just started, like, not even kicking to him. So that was kind of disappointing. But, just seeing all those touchdown returns and how exciting he was. You know, he was one of the main reasons why I even became a Bears fan. And obviously we know like 2006, the Super Bowl return. Obviously we lost that game, but that was a pretty good return. So I'd probably have to go with Devin Hester all the time. But I agree though that Matt Forte, man, he was super underrated. Like nobody actually talks about him as like one of the best, Bears running backs of all time, but he definitely is. Like,
yeah. I mean, we all know it's Walter Payton, but I'm talking about like after him, it has to be Forte. Yeah. Devin Hester's a great one, by the way, too. He was just so exciting to watch. Okay, so next question. This one gets me in trouble with Bears fans all the time. They want to know what my record prediction for the Bears this year, and I've been very transparent. I have the Bears going 10-6 and finishing second in the NFC North. I have them finishing behind the Packers, only by one game. 11-5 for the Packers. 10-6 for the Bears. Just one real quick thing. My reasoning, because I don't want to obviously give my whole explanation, but my reasoning is because of the fact that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a huge year after the Packers drafted Jordan Love. I just think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. So to me, that's the reason why I have the Packers winning. But listen, there's an extra wild card spot. So that's why I still have the Bears making the playoffs. Okay, so Bears fans always say, oh, you're picking the Packers. Yes, but I still have the Bears making the playoffs at 10-6. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that pretty much. Like, I think it's going to be neck and neck between us and the Packers because obviously we have the great defense. They have a great offense. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, maybe they don't have the best, players around him, but he pretty much makes anybody around him better. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be, a threat as usual. And the Packers, they're going to be hard to beat. So I probably have them number 1, too, but I'm thinking the Packers are going to go like 13-3 and we could have a chance of like 11-5 or even 10-6. Like my official prediction that I had in my last video was, I think 11-5. So I feel like that's, a possibility, but anywhere in that range from like 10-6 to 12-4, I think that's possible based on, how our offense does though, because if we at least have like an average offense, we could, be 12-4 even better. But if it's as bad as it was last year, then, I don't know how bad we could be. So yeah,
I definitely agree. Now, if your official prediction is 11-5, is that them winning the division or is that them?
That's them in second place. I
think place. Okay, the Packers going 13-3. Okay.
13-3, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I hope they're not, but just
we have to be objective. Like I don't know. I know. Fans always are like, "Oh, you have to pick the Bears every year." No, you can't. You have to be objective.
Both of us of being homers at times. Yeah. We're just trying to be objective as possible. Okay, obviously, both of us have some sort of bias, but we try to keep that out. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, or else I'd be picking the Bears to win the Super Bowl every year. Yeah. So, okay, perfect. So next question. Another question that actually people, if you guys watch my channel, which hopefully a lot of you do, you should know this, is who wins the starting quarterback job for the Bears this year? And after you answer that, who are you rooting for to win the starting job? So, again, like I said, most of you guys should know, for me, it's Mitchell Trubisky. I've said this since the beginning. I believe the Bears want him to win the starting job too, because to me, with Nick Foles, I don't think it matters for Nick Foles if he starts or if he comes off the bench. Nick Foles' legacy is set, right? He's a Super Bowl MVP winner, and he's a guy who can start or come off the bench. Mitchell Trubisky, if he does not win the starting job, I mean, his career as a starting quarterback is potentially over. So to me, it's Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm rooting for him as well because to me, him winning the job is better for the Bears in the long term as well. So how about you?
Yeah, so I have to say I actually agree with that too. My fans of my channel, they know that before I was kind of picking Nick Foles. I thought that, his experience in a system like this, his previous success as a Super Bowl MVP, I thought that'd just be too much for Mitch Trubisky to beat out. But after COVID, man, I feel like it's going to be Mitch because at this point, like with COVID, with not having preseason, with not having that many reps over the offseason, it's going to be based more on familiarity. So whoever has the most familiarity with this offense, with the receivers already, I feel like that's the guy that they're going to go with. And I know people want to say that Mitch, he wasn't great last year. He overthrew a lot of receivers. Like he was not the best quarterback, obviously. But, you also have to keep in mind that Foles is also maybe not, an elite quarterback in the regular season. Like, yeah, he was good in the postseason, but Foles has never started more than 13 games. I think he did in like that was like 7 years ago, right? So he hasn't started like a full season. And, you just want to go with the people you're familiar with. So obviously, I think Trubisky is going to be the guy to start out. Obviously, if he doesn't play well, then Foles is going to come in pretty fast. Like, I feel like if Mitch is, stinking it up over the first, 2 games, they would pull him right after that and put Foles in. But to start the season, I think it's going to be Mitch because the Bears still have some sort of belief in them.
That's a good point. And I'm glad you said that, where just because I'm picking Mitch to start does not mean he'll finish the year, right?
Oh, yeah, without
So this is just from the start. And to your point, you're saying 2 games. So somebody else asked me this too, like how many games would they give Mitch before, it's like if he's not playing well, it's time to pull him. I said 4 games basically, because our schedule at the beginning is fairly easy. We play like the Lions, the Giants. So if Mitch can't win those games, or if he does not play well enough, yeah, I think he gets pulled 2 to 3 to 4 games in. So
for sure. I mean, the fans are gonna be calling for him if he has a bad first.
Even literally 1 interception, I can hear it. I can literally hear it, dude. It's it's crazy. Okay. So there you have it. So again, that's who we're going for. And by the way, are you rooting for Mitch or are you rooting for Nick Foles?
Oh, I'm definitely rooting for Mitch, man.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. There's a lot of Mitch haters out there, man. There's a lot.
I mean, I also feel like most people don't hate Mitch the person, but they think that he's not capable enough to be a quarterback based on his talent.
Yep.
But
No, exactly. All right. So next up, we have a couple quick hitters. So you don't have to elaborate a lot. Maybe just a couple lines. So these are kind of like superlatives for the Bears. So who's your player most likely to break out this season?
Most likely to break out. I mean, I kind of want to say Roquan Smith, but he's already a great player. I think he's going to take that next step to being an all-pro player next season. But if you want to go with a player that's not a superstar already, I would probably have to go with Anthony Miller. In his 3rd year now in the offense. Hopefully he's finally healthy. He's never really had a truly healthy season. And, we saw the last half of 2019, he had a pretty good stretch of games against the Lions and some other teams. So Anthony Miller would be my candidate. He's a really great route runner, has decent hands. He can do a lot of things in this offense as a slot receiver. So hopefully it is Anthony Miller, because if he breaks out, Allen Robinson and the other guys, they're going to have a really great year as well. So
yeah, people understand Anthony Miller being good is going to help A-Rob because you won't get doubled and whatnot. So yeah, totally agree. My guy is David Montgomery. I think the Bears know that they need to run the ball this year, no matter who's starting at quarterback. And I love David Montgomery. I just think last year the run blocking was awful, or else I'm telling you, he easily gets over 1,000 yards. So David Montgomery's my guy. Pick him up in fantasy, guys. I've been telling you this. He's going to break out. I love him. And I love Anthony Miller in fantasy too, by the way. He's a nice sleeper. Next question, most likely Bears player to disappoint.
Disappoint. Let me think about that.
Anybody you see regressing, disappointing, anything like that?
I feel like people have pretty high expectations now for Trubisky, like Trubisky fans do. So, he's probably the most likely to disappoint just because, the expectations that people have right now, he might not live up to them. Yeah. So I would probably have to go with Trubisky, but what about you?
So I've actually been labeled a Jimmy Graham hater. So for me, it's actually Jimmy Graham. I can't – this is the part where I say we're not biased, because when the Bears signed Jimmy Graham, I could have easily been like, oh, my God, this is a great signing. But I said it's not. He's washed up. The Packers let him go for a reason. So I think Jimmy Graham's going to disappoint us. I think they'll realize very quickly that Cole Kmet is better already than Jimmy Graham. And all the money that we paid him was just a waste. And, again, I hope it's not true. Please keep in mind, I'm not rooting for Jimmy Graham to suck. I'm just trying to let you see what I saw last year with the Packers, right? He just didn't have it. So that's my player for most likely to disappoint. Okay, who do you believe is the most underrated player on the Bears?
Yeah, underrated. I would have to go with probably David Montgomery. I know you already talked about it. Yeah,
we can do repeat, guys.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, people don't really talk about David Montgomery as even being like a solid back in this league. I know fantasy people aren't really looking at him. Maybe people like you are that, research this stuff. But, a lot of people are not expecting anything out of David Montgomery. I know some people also had the Bears drafting a running back this year or trading for one or But David Montgomery does have like a lot of talents, going side to side, the agility, the quickness, like it's all there. And he's an all-around running back too. He can catch the ball as well, but we just do not have like the offensive line to have the most success for him. Like hopefully we do now.
Yeah,
last year, if you watched the all 22 of the Bears, like he did not have like pretty much any holes to run through. So, and he still almost finished with like 1,000 yards, which is crazy. But if next year we can get a decent O-line, David Montgomery is going to go for 1K plus, maybe even like 1,500 at the very best. So I would have to go with Montgomery. What about you?
Totally agree. With Montgomery being underrated, I mean, for me, it's a boring position. I think it's offensive lineman Cody Whitehair. I just think he never gets the credit he deserves. Everyone talks about how bad the line is, but then he gets thrown. Oh, he's good, and it's like, well, you can't just say the whole line's bad when he's not bad. So I think Cody Whitehair does not get the recognition he deserves. So I think for me, he's the most underrated. Okay, and then last one for this list of questions is who do you believe is under the most pressure between the quarterback or backs or Matt Nagy? So regardless of who wins the starting job, whether it's Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, or Matt Nagy, who do you believe has the most pressure on them?
I would say it's still the quarterbacks. Like I know a lot of Bears fans. Are you saying who's under the most pressure from like fans or from like the?
Yeah, mainly fans in general. Like here's the thing: if the Bears go like 13-3 or not 3-13, excuse me, is that Matt Nagy gonna get canned for sure? Like what would it take? So just kind of from your perspective, fans, whatever you want to say, who is under the most pressure?
Well, from the fans, I would have to say probably Matt Nagy, because if I look at what Bears fans are saying, like a lot of them still believe in Trubisky to some extent. Like I know a lot of people want to blame, pretty much everything from last year on the offensive line and on Matt Nagy, which that's not, right. Obviously, it's like a mixture of all of their faults. But I know a lot of Bears fans, like they're not believing in Matt Nagy as much as they did like a year ago when he was coach of the year. So
literally, people forget that, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. Matt Nagy, he's like still, I think he's had like one of the greatest starts to a coaching career in Bears history. But, people still want to say that, last year he had, a lot of bad play calling, which he definitely did to some extent. He never really ran the ball. He didn't get Mitch going out of the pocket. He didn't put Mitch in a good position to succeed. But I still want to give him at least one more year. But he's definitely, under the most pressure from the fans. But if you want to say from the franchise itself, probably the quarterbacks, because I really feel like, the upper management, they want to keep Nagy here for at least, 2 more years. They might want to give him another chance with like a better quarterback if Mitch or if Foles are not that guy, maybe get like Justin Fields or Trey Lance or whoever, maybe give him a chance with them. But yeah, the franchise would probably be, the quarterbacks, but from the fans, I feel like it's Matt Nagy. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Matt Nagy for all the reasons you said. I feel like you summed it up perfectly. So I don't even have much to add there because, like I said, Matt Nagy to me has to perform. But to your point that you feel like the franchise wants to keep Matt Nagy, so are you saying – I'm just asking – are you saying if the Bears just completely fall off, right, 3-13, 4-12 – Matt Nagy still gets to keep his job, or do you think there is a number there? If they're below 6 wins, he's out. Or do you believe, no, he's staying here no matter what?
I mean, it depends on how the season even goes out. If he's trying to like put the quarterback in the best position to succeed, if he's calling pretty good plays, but the quarterback still cannot, follow through with them, then I would feel like he's going to be here no matter what, even if we have like a 3-13 record. But if it's a combination of his fault and the quarterback's fault, and we go like, 4-12 or even worse, then I feel like both of them are going to be canned. But yeah, I mean, you can't deny that Matt Nagy is still a bright offensive mind.
Totally agree.
He's had some success in this league as a play caller, so I want to give him at least this year, but I don't know what the Bears are thinking, man.
Yeah, again, it's only been 2 years. You can't do this thing with like Mark Trestman, right? We got rid of him in 2 years. Remember that? So you have to give coaches some time. I definitely think, and by the way, if we do for some reason go like 3-13, we get Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying, so it's not all bad.
Yes, sir.
So all right, perfect. So the last part is just going to be fan questions. So I'm just going to read off some fan questions that were submitted. So again, I try to get to the best ones. A lot of them were kind of repeat questions. So the first one comes from Nick Mack. My question for the both of you: what is the most important position that the Bears need to fill? And I guess he's saying like that they've tried to fill, but it's still not filled perfectly fine yet. So wide receiver 3, right guard. Is there a position out there, second cornerback, second safety, that is the most important position that you're looking for the Bears to fill for season starts?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go with probably the backup inside linebacker because besides, Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan, we really don't have anybody with much experience in the NFL. Like last year, we had Nick Witkowski, we had KPL, but this year we only have like Joel Iyiegbuniwe and like Josh Woods, who don't really have that much experience in the league. And looking at how, Danny Trevathan, he gets injured pretty often. Like he's been injured pretty much every single season during his Bears career. That's kind of worrisome that we don't have anybody to really back him up. So I would say, I would hope we go after like a veteran linebacker that's going to be available after, roster training camp cuts. So that's probably my biggest need. But what about you?
I mean, before I would have said maybe, the opposite cornerback to Kyle Fuller, who wins that job. But now I'm like, we lost Eddie Goldman. Like, who are we going to have to replace him? Like the depth behind him is just it's not there. John Jenkins, guys like that. We have to have some players to rotate and switch positions, I guess. So to me, it's replacing Eddie Goldman. A lot of Bears fans have reached out, said, maybe they should go after Snacks Harrison. I don't know if they're going to go through free agency. I saw Ryan Pace in the press conference talk about that they want to fill the position internally. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if there's anyone on the roster that can do that. So for me, it's probably replacing Eddie Goldman.
Yeah, I know people are talking about maybe switching Akeem Hicks to nose tackle, but I also feel like, Akeem Hicks' best value is kind of on the outside because as a nose tackle, you're going to be, pretty much eating up blocks, which you don't really want Akeem Hicks to only do that. Like he's good at sacking the quarterback and pass rush. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. This comes from Nick Gonzalez. What kind of season do you guys think Tariq Cohen will have, and will he re-sign with us or hit free agency? So I'll let you go ahead and start.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say because last year Tariq Cohen was just so extremely bad in like a lot of different areas, like running out of bounds, not going like north to south, and drops too. I think wasn't he like top 5 in drops or something?
Yeah, he had so many drop passes. Yeah, and he's a pass catching back, so
yeah, I know. Which I feel like part of that blame is also on the quarterback. I know that drops are not like only the quarterback's fault, but when Mitch was kind of overthrowing everybody, like it kind of makes you think internally, like, is he going to actually, is the pass going to be like
on target, right?
On target. But if Tariq Cohen has at least 1,000 all-purpose yards next year, maybe 1,200, maybe more, then I feel like we are going to re-sign him, but he's going to have a pretty damn good season because you can replace running backs pretty easily in this league. And I know like Tariq Cohen has some pretty unique attributes like his speed, his agility, but teams have always replaced their running backs like every 4 years, and they've had success. So unless Tariq Cohen shows us that he's truly this elite pass-catching back, I don't think he's going to be re-signed. But obviously there's a chance he can do it. So, I mean, I hope he does because I love Tariq Cohen. I'm definitely rooting for him, but it remains to be seen if he can be that consistent like the entire year. But
I'm just going to be blunt about it. I don't want Tariq Cohen back. I mean, literally, unless he goes completely berserk, just becomes the best pass-catching back in the league or something like that. Like you said, it's so easy to replace backs. And to be honest, like, I'm just talking about running backs in general, not gadget players like Tariq Cohen, because let's be honest, Tariq Cohen can't – like, if David Montgomery goes down, he's not handling 20 carries, So he's a gadget player. That's what he is. And so I don't even like paying regular running backs. So – unless you're a Christian McCaffrey, a Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to pay you. And so at that point, it's really not a question. The only way, again, like you said, it would happen is the Bears somehow go on a run, maybe a deep playoff run, Super Bowl, who knows. And Tariq Cohen's a big part of it. But to me, it's very unlikely that he would be a big part of that. So I'm ready to move on if that's the case.
Even then, like, we don't have that much cap space.
Yeah, so even then we don't.
Yeah, I don't know if we can keep him regardless.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the next question. This is a good one. This is from Lino Calayo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Let's say if the Bears don't meet expectations this year and Mitch or Foles don't work out, He writes, hopefully they do in parentheses. And we have to somehow rebuild or possibly entirely rebuild. How would you approach the rebuild process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lino. I mean, there's like two different rebuilds you could do. There's one that would be like an all-out rebuild, which anybody would be available for trade, even like Khalil Mack or Eddie Jackson for picks. And there's also another rebuild you could do, which is just a partial rebuild. I'm kind of just rebuild the offense, which is probably what we're gonna have to do, unless our defense like somehow takes a step back. But I would definitely prefer like the second option, just rebuilding the offense. Like if we're bad enough to get a top quarterback, if we go like 4-12 or even worse, then we're probably going to be in contention to get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or whoever. And doing a rebuild like that could potentially be like a 1 or 2 year rebuild, right? Because just getting that quarterback in there, that could be a huge franchise changer. Obviously, we're probably going to have to build the O-line too, but that would probably be like the most effective rebuild and probably the best one. Because if you rebuild this defense, it might take a long time to get back up to that level. But what do you think?
I don't see how you can do a full like tear down rebuild with this defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like you literally are paying Khalil Mack so much money and the rest of these guys. And it's like, unless they get old, washed up, and they're just not good, you have to keep trying to do a quick retool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And try to get the offense right because – again, this defense is good enough to win you like 6 games. So the whole point of a rebuild is to get as many high draft picks. You won't be getting high draft picks because the defense will be too good. So, yeah, I just don't see how you can do a full rebuild if Mitch or Nick Foles don't pan out. So I totally agree. Next question. This comes from Rax United. Fan of both of you guys, so thank you. If Mitch starts and has a decent year, do the Bears still draft a quarterback or still make a change at the position? I feel like he has to really exceed expectations at this point to keep his job. And before you answer, I actually want to add something because I love this question, is if Mitch does play well and you're Ryan Pace, what are you doing with his contract as well? Okay, so 2-part question, right? First, he said, what do you still draft a quarterback if Mitch plays well? And to my question, if Mitch plays well, what are you doing with this contract? Are you extending him, franchising? What are you doing?
I mean, it depends like what well is, like what your definition of well is. If he's like a top 5 quarterback, then I feel like you extend him to a long-term contract no matter what. But like, the chances of that happening are probably not that big. So
right.
If anything else happens, like if he say has a repeat of 2018, which was a pretty decent season, like
right, yeah, let's say that
it's not like a top 5 or top 10 quarterback season. If he has a season like that, then maybe you could like franchise tag him and pay him like the $30 million or whatever it is for 1 more year where he can prove himself again, or maybe he doesn't, or whatever happens. Like you then know like what's gonna then you know like what you're gonna do with this contract, because obviously you don't want to give him like a long 5-year deal just after one okay season, because that could potentially turn out worse than even Jay Cutler's long contract or whatever.
God, so, don't remind me, please.
Yeah.
So do you draft a quarterback though if Mitch plays well?
I mean, if he plays well, I don't see how you could, because then you also have Nick Foles behind him, who's probably going to be a pretty decent backup. If you want to get rid of Foles, then yeah, maybe you could get like a 2nd-round quarterback. Maybe if there's still a good one available, you want to like develop behind Mitch for the next like 2 years. I think you could do that, but I don't see us drafting a quarterback unless Mitch just is not on the team anymore. Like if
that's a good point. Actually, I'm going to add to that question because I also see another question here from Nate1115. Give me the stats Mitch would have to put up next year to keep his starting job for like the foreseeable future, like the next year after that. So just give me, and I'll answer these questions too, by the way. Give me touchdown, interception, and like ballpark yardage.
I mean, if he had like 30 plus touchdowns and like 15 interceptions, it's hard to come up with an exact number because it also depends on like if you win the games or not. Right.
If you put like if you do what Jameis Winston did, but you lose everything, it's like, what's the point? But I agree. It's tough. So to the first question, as far as Mitch and what I would do, I'm franchise and tagging him. for sure. So if Mitch literally, unless he turns into, like you said, a top 5 quarterback, every other scenario in which he plays well will result in me franchise tagging him because I just can't do it after one, decent year. Now, again, people always rag on Mitch, but he has had one decent year in 2018. So I'm saying I'm giving him that opportunity. And franchise tag is a decent amount of money. That's a big tag, by the way. He's a number 2 overall pick. It's going to be a big number. And then if he does it again, I'll look to extend him. Would I draft a quarterback? I've always been in the camp that it's never a bad idea to draft a quarterback really any year. But here's the thing. You might think I'm saying that, but then I see the Packers drafting Jordan Love, maybe like a lower pick capital. Like if you draft a first-round quarterback, I mean, at that point you have to play the guy. So I agree with you that I don't know how you draft a quarterback if Mitch is on the roster along with Nick Foles and they're playing well. But maybe, in the 5th, 6th round, you can maybe take a flyer on a guy, just keep him back there and develop him. I want the Bears to start just developing quarterbacks. I feel like that's the one thing
we never do that, man. That's what we tried to do with Mitch, but Mike Glennon was so freaking bad.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, just off the record, if John Fox was not our coach that year and Mike Glennon just played out the year, or just Mitch sat the first year, I'm promising you his career is different.
Without a doubt, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith that first year. Yep. And he also had the perfect system to play in, perfect receivers. I'm not saying Trubisky would be as good as Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but he had such a better scenario.
Literally, dude. I know, I totally agree. And it always feels like the quarterbacks that sit a year, they always turn out to do really well.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers,
Yep. I know, I totally agree. And it's just unfortunate. But like I said, so that's what I would do. And as far as numbers, this is tough too. I agree. It depends on win-loss record. But for Mitch to keep his starting job, I think if he's, if he's averaging a decent 2-to-1 ratio, 2018 was literally a 2-to-1 ratio, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, right? If he's getting that, so let's say he averages, like you said, 30 touchdowns, 15 picks is a lot actually. I don't know. I don't want that many picks, but maybe 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, something like that. And I definitely need him to be close to 4,000 yards, at least there, And I really want – it doesn't have to be Mitch. I need somebody to break the damn Bears record for 30 touchdowns. Please, no quarterback has ever gotten 30 touchdowns. It's so pathetic. Or 4,000 yards. Yeah, so definitely need that. Okay, just I think 1 or 2 more here. We talked about that. We talked about the record for the Bears. We both have them making the playoffs, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we did that. And let's see here. Yeah, I think the last question then for me is going to be how big of a problem are these opt-outs for the Bears going to be this season? Notably, we've had 2 players now, Eddie Goldman and Jordan Lucas opt out. And do we expect any replacements either via free agency or internally?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Lucas probably doesn't matter that much because he's going to be, a training camp cut anyways. So that's one player that doesn't really affect us. And isn't the deadline is it tomorrow? Or
I think it's today Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. You're right. I think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have any other
today or tomorrow.
Tomorrow. But if we don't have anybody else, just losing Eddie Goldman, that's probably not – I mean, obviously that's going to be a big deal on our defense, but it's not as bad as it could have been. So, like you already mentioned, getting players like Snacks Harrison to replace Eddie Goldman, that would be really great. But if we can't do that, we do have other candidates internally. It's obviously not going to be as good as having Eddie Goldman because he's probably a top 5, nose tackle in the NFL. So he's going to be a big loss, but it could have been a lot worse. We could have had Allen Robinson, Eddie Jackson.
Oh, my God.
And that could still happen, actually.
Yeah,
so it doesn't happen by tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. You saw the Patriots, and they lose 6
Yeah, they lost 6 or 7 players.
Yeah.
I mean, the Patriots they just gave up. It's bad.
They're tanking for Trevor Lawrence, I feel like, man.
They probably are. But, Bill Belichick always plays chess, not checkers. So I completely agree with you, though. Eddie Goldman's a big loss for sure. Don't get me that wrong on that. But, again, defense, it's not like offense where, the sum of the parts can somehow make up for the loss of an individual player, And so I think what I do think they're going to do is they will kick the tires on the free agency market to see if they can find somebody. But I think they'll do that if they see that the defense really misses Eddie Goldman. Like, I think they start the season and they see, okay, we need somebody, then they'll go into the free agency wire. If not, then I think they'll try to replace him internally. So, and then like you said, Jordan Lucas, he was going to be like our fourth corner. So it doesn't really matter much. So I'm not worried about that much. But yeah, I hope, again, no other player opts out. Again, we're not saying that they shouldn't. This is their individual decision to do so. But obviously, just being selfishly fans of the team, we don't want that, because I've heard, Tre'Davious White on the Bills, he's considering opting out. Like, there's some big names out there that I'm hearing might opt out. So, okay, perfect. I do have one last question I did have. I want to end this on a fun note. What is your one bold prediction for the Bears? And it could be win-loss record. It could be a player stat. It could be anything you want. But give me one bold prediction you have for this season.
Sure. Bold prediction for the Bears. I would have to go with Khalil Mack getting 20+ sacks, man.
Jeez, 20?
That's a lot. I know, dude.
God.
That's like – would that break like a franchise record? I don't know if it would, but that would be a hell of a lot of sacks.
Isn't Strahan like 20? What's Strahan? 22?
20-something, yeah. So it would probably be close to like the NFL all-time record, which is probably just me being delusional. Like, that's probably not going to happen. But
that's definitely bold, but go ahead.
There's definitely a chance, because if you look at like Khalil Mack's career, he's never been opposite of a pass rusher like Robert Quinn. Like last year, all the stats that Robert Quinn had, he was probably like a top 10 pass rusher last year, because based on like I put like a graph up on the screen in one of my videos. But have you seen that graph where it compares like your double team rate versus like your win rates? It's like whatever it was, like Robert Quinn was like the best out of all the pass rushers in getting double team, but still, converting on that double team, like getting passes double team. So Robert Quinn, man, he's a damn good pass rusher. People are not giving him enough credit. And with the Akeem Hicks back healthy, with, corners like Jalen Johnson and like all the other talent we have in our defense, like our back end of our defense, it's going to be able to lock up things enough for Khalil Mack to get home. And I think he has a chance at 20+, man. It's going to be tough, and maybe it's probably not going to happen, but he definitely does have a chance. But
for sure. It would help his ranking on the NFL Top 100. It definitely move him up from 19th.
Sure, yeah.
That was pathetic, by the way. I'm just saying. But yeah, no, Khalil Mack, I definitely agree that for sure that's bold. Actually, one of my bold predictions with that was Mack and Quinn combining for, I think I said 25 sacks. So I think I had both of them around I think I had Mack at like 12, and then Quinn at the rest of the amount. So it's definitely possible. So I like that one. Mine's not as bold, I guess I should say, but I have David Montgomery rushing for like 11 to 1,200 yards. I really do. I think the formula for the Bears this season is just run the damn football and don't make mistakes. I think that helps with ball control too, keep the other team off the field. And it's all through David Montgomery. And the one stat that I love using is David Montgomery had the same exact carries attempts as Josh Jacobs. Okay? Josh Jacobs had a great year, right? He should have won Rookie of the Year, by the way. I don't know why Kyler Murray won it. But Josh Jacobs had the same attempts. What was the difference? David Montgomery, 3.7 yards per carry. I know, pathetic, right? With the bad offensive line. Josh Jacobs was like 4.2, 4.5. That's it. And Josh Jacobs ends up with 1,100 yards. David Montgomery gets a short of like 900. So you literally just up the yards per carry. You don't even have to give him more carries. You just up the yards per carry with hopefully better protection. And I think he just goes off and gets 11 to 1,200 yards.
Yeah. What do you think about our O-line, though? Like, do you think that we made enough upgrades over the offseason to actually be like top 15 or whatever? Because we did Juan Castillo too. Like,
they're putting a lot of faith in him. They're putting a lot of faith in him.
Sure.
Ryan Pace talked about that in the press conference because reporters asked him about that as well. They really expect Juan Castillo to just fix up the scheme. I think the Bears' offensive line will be average to maybe a little below average. I don't expect them to be as bad as 2019 or as good as 2018. I am worried about the right guard position. I think Jermaine Afidi will win the position. I know that's not saying much. He gets a lot of penalties, but I mean, I would be lying if I told you I wasn't a little worried for sure. But I'm taking the leap of faith in Juan Castillo until he proves otherwise. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Like, it's still not a position of, like, strength for us by far. And I would be, like, praying just to be average. You know, if we had an average offensive line last year, maybe we could have went to the playoffs. But as long as they're not, like, bottom 5 or bottom 10, you know, I'll be happy. And, you know, if you look at, like, where Juan Castillo, like, has gone and all the success he has had with, like, the Ravens and the Bills and the Eagles, too, I think he had, like, a top 10 run game pretty much everywhere he went. So just having him here, that should probably improve the O-line. And, you know, he's also like that tough old school guy. So, you know, maybe he can finally get through to Charles Leno and actually whip him up into shape because, dude, last year was a horrible year for Charles Leno.
No, it was awful.
I hate to say that because he's a nice guy. You know, I've talked to him as well, but he was horrible last year. So if Juan Castillo can get through to him and kind of just whip everybody else up into shape, you know, kind of like 2018, then, you know, we could probably be like 15th or 16th best offensive line in the league.
I'd be more than happy with that. So, like I've been telling all Bears fans, let's obviously be optimistic about the season, give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But the second they show you that it's not working, it's okay to be worried, you know. But we haven't gotten there yet. The season hasn't started. But there you have it, guys. So those are all the questions. Hopefully that we answered as many questions as we could, and you guys enjoyed that. Let's just do some quick plugs now where you guys can follow Rishab and me. You guys should pretty much know, but I'm just going to say it because, you know, in case you guys do want to reach out, I mean, I'll start with you, Rishab. Just plug your, you know, where people can reach out to your YouTube channel, everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all my information is in the comments or in the description of like any video I have. So my Instagram is like at DaWindyCity prods, and Twitter, it's all there. So just go to like any of my videos and you can find my social medias. Yeah,
and same with me. So I have my Twitter as my full name, Faiz Qureshi. Then my Instagram, same thing, but I also have a FaizSportsTalk separate Instagram. I even made a TikTok, so go ahead and follow me on TikTok too.
Same here.
Okay, so do all that, and basically, guys, the main thing is subscribe to both of our channels because Bear season is right around the corner, and I'm telling you, we need the support because this is gonna blow up for both of us. Hopefully, I've been grinding, he's been grinding, so it's gonna be crazy. So I'm looking forward to it. But thank you guys for checking out, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon. It was a pleasure, man.
Adios.
All right.
All right, bro. That was awesome.